Hello, everyone. This is your host, Jay Shax, presenting to you our second episode of album reviews, coming at you with Vanisher Horizon Scraper by Quadeca. Now, this is a new record that came out Friday, July 25th of 2025. This is a 14-track album, an hour and 9-minute runtime, so it is kind of long. However, I think this album is amazing. I'm just gonna start this off by saying this album absolutely blew me away. I don't think it's gonna be for everyone. Personally, I think this has a lot of different sounds on it that is not at all familiar with the mainstream, and kind of takes these directions and concepts and blends it together in a really unique and more experimental way. So I don't think this album is going to land for everybody. It's not going to hit for everybody, but it does for me. This is the third studio album by Quadeca. His last project, Scrapyard, was a mixtape. So this is a little bit different. Coming back with another concept album, which is something he's kind of known for. He hasn't really done anything other than concept albums. I think the execution here was amazing. Just to keep things a little more concise, this record just absolutely slams every aspect of music making out of the water. Like, it is incredible. This album was highly anticipated because the three lead singles, Godstain, Monday, and Foregone, were met with a ton of praise and acclaim, not only online in music forums, but from critics alike. This is where we kind of start seeing this artistic evolution of Quadeca. He's fully transforming the sounds that he drew from into his own and melding it together in such an odd amalgamation of sound that it can really be only characterized by the artist, right? If you think of an artist that just like you hear something and the name immediately clicks to it, that's kind of what he's done here. So I think he's starting to cement his own sound. And we see a lot of aquatic themes on this record. Even some of the songwriting points to that as well. I mean, you can see it in just a few of the titles. I Dream About Sinking, The Great Bakunawa, which I believe is a Filipino folklore tale that describes this, mythical dragon that eats the moons. But this has seen a really, really large amount of support for it, right? And it's kind of crazy because Quadeca is not this like hugely known artist. I mean, he just recently jumped up to 800,000 monthly listeners. We're closing in to 1 million, which is just insane. I mean, this is the first time he's seen one of his albums even chart in any country. So it's a huge milestone in his career, and we see him collaborate once again with Danny Brown, who was on his last concept album, and he did an amazing job on the last one. He's very much plays into the role that Quadeca gives him, and he does it really well. This is also featuring Maruja. It's pronounced Maruja. I recently found that out. They are a sort of post-punk jazz rock fusion kind of deal. Super interesting. Definitely check them out. They got an album coming up here, I think in August, late August. And this song alone has already got me pretty hyped for it. So coming into this record, I had pretty high expectations. I'm already a fan of Quadeca. I just love his music. I love his style. I love his production. I think that's his strongest suit, his production. The man knows how to make a compelling sound. And his knowledge on song structure and possibly music theory. I think he has a pretty good grasp on music theory because he just completely manipulates it to be something so fresh and new and like anything I've ever heard. And coming into this, I expected something more like the singles, which are, they're very acoustic. They play into this folksy sound, almost like an art pop kind of deal. I was assuming the rest of the album was going to feel as organic as those did. Godstain, I think, is probably one of his best songs in his catalog. It is just incredible what he did on that song. He's perfectly mixing elements of jazz with like neo soul. They're not really R&B, but there's definitely an influence from it. I saw a lot of people on release talk about it and say it was sort of like a Tyler the Creator song on steroids. And this is what I mean when I say that the songs kind of start getting an identity towards it. And it's just like, this feels uniquely like Quadeca. But yeah, I came into this record on Friday night thinking it was going to be just like that. This was something I was super excited for. I just got done listening with about half of Alfredo 2, and I was like, all right, let's go ahead and dive into Vanisher. And I was like very taken aback by what was happening. Like this, it was not at all what I was expecting. So the first two songs are a bit more experimental in nature. We have an instrumental track as our opener, 6 minutes long, which is insane. But it's really just starting to pull you into the atmosphere of this record. And I think that's one of the things it really, really knocks out of the park, is the production builds this whole world for you that lets you get enveloped in it. And I think the way it's mixed definitely helps contribute to that. Going further into the track list, Waging War is even more out there in terms of what I was expecting. So I was really, really confused just by the second track. I was like, this is not at all what I was expecting. Then we get into Ruin My Life, and then we get into the streak where things are a little more acoustic. You know, it's kind of what I expected. Until we get to At a Time Like This. At a Time Like This is an experimental hip-hop cut that does a lot of things really well. It incorporates elements of electronic music and does a really good job at it. And that's not really a new thing, you know, experimental hip-hop and electronic, you know, that's kind of the big fusion that's usually out there, you know. It gets abrasive at times, it's in your face, but it's so catchy and mesmerizing at the same time. And the production contributes to that a lot. Monday, you know, that's another acoustic cut, folksy. This one's the most folksy, I think, out of all the songs on this record, and I love it. It sounds amazing. And coming back to this, I mean, it was probably my least favorite of the singles, and now I'm not so sure. It's kind of hard for me to say which was the best, because this song was so captivating upon another re-listen. Just coming back to it, it's a song that I kind of abandoned for a little while since its release. And man, there are so many layers and textures going on within this record just halfway through that I was completely blown away. Like, I didn't know what to think anymore. My expectations were really subverted. And then going into Dancing Without Moving, I think this is definitely his most catchy song on this record. It's also the shortest. This song was definitely really fun, catchy. Production was grandeur and really just top notch. I think he knocked that out of the park with this one. And the writing, again, it all plays into this theme. So I think this pairs really well with the Great Bakunawa, because this song very directly references the moon. I mean, it's not like direct like he's literally saying the moon, but you can kind of tell with, I believe there's a line that says something about seeing you rise with the sunset, and it dances but it cannot move. It's pretty clear that he's talking about the moon. And if you decide to watch the short film that accompanies the album with this, it's going to be a lot more clear. And I think the message will be very clear. You'll be able to pick up on things a lot more easily. So Dancing Without Moving, fantastic. Going into That's Why, this was my most anticipated leak, and I was really, really hoping that it was on this record, and it was. And it goes into this whole indie rock, like almost like an indie folk rock kind of deal. Super, super amazing. The strings on this song just absolutely rock. So many great things going on just within the first half of this album. So by this point, I'm kind of scared that it's going to fall on its face. And it doesn't, because this beautiful, beautiful arrangement that is I Dream About Sinking, it really feels like I'm being enveloped by the water, but in the most calming and loving way possible. I didn't think that I would have liked something as ambient as this on this record, especially with the amount of, traction that it was gaining by this point. It was executed so well, and it paid off, because going into Natural Causes, things slowed down a little bit. I think this sounds most like his previous record, but sort of revamped. Great song. It might be my least favorite on the album, but it's kind of hard to say because there's a lot of things that I love about it. And then moving into Thunder, this is sort of his super, abrasive, really aggressive, experimental hip hop. And I think it works. It works. It works on this record, especially leading into the more sinister, great Bacchanal with an amazing verse by Danny Brown. I mean, this song was just incredible, even on the first listen. It took a listen for Thunder to kind of grow on me, and this is what I mean. Like, I don't think this is an album that is easy to digest or process. I don't think it's going to be for everybody. But if you're willing to try something new, you might find something you like. I think this song is probably going to be one of those things. I was just completely blown away with it. There is so many raw textures, and they kind of just clash with each other, but melt together in this weird combination that just leaves you wanting more. You desire for more. And then going into Foregone, this was another single. Beautiful piano ballad. I mean, it was an amazing arrangement, and how everything explodes into this whirlwind, this huge tsunami of emotion that just kind of continues building up and, feeding into the message of the album. It was gorgeous. It's a gorgeous song. And the songwriting is stellar. The vocals are great. Yeah, vocals, beautiful. Production, beautiful. The mixing makes everything so much more interesting, especially when the piano starts, ramping up those bass notes and just playing loudly. It's kind of clashing with the vocals in a way, but it adds more to the emotional impact. And then moving into Casper, this was a song that took me a little while to understand. It was definitely something that I liked because, again, I'm very familiar with Maruja. They had one of my favorite albums, or I guess EPs, last year and the year prior to that. They are phenomenal. I think Harry Wilkinson, the lead vocalist for the band, has, a few credits sprinkled throughout the album. And I will say they don't add much, but I don't hate it. It's not something that I dislike or even really think about too much. It's just kind of there. I guess in a way, it's sort of unimportant, and I kind of wish there was maybe another feature here, like earlier into the track list, that added some impact, but I think this fully encapsulates his artistic vision. This is a full evolution of sound. This is taking everything that I thought was good about Quadeca before, and then getting rid of any gripes that I had with his music prior to this. So Casper is this, post-punk apocalyptic track that does mesh a little bit with some of the reoccurring musical motifs that appear on this record, and leads into this explosive ending. Absolutely, just blowing your eardrums out. It sounds like you're drowning. Like your head keeps bobbing up out of the water, and it's so chaotic, like you're stuck in this massive storm. And then at the end, it kind of blows away, and it's left with this beautiful soundscape that leads right back in to the intro. I think it was masterful. So yeah, all in all, with this record, there's no telling for me what I think are my favorite tracks, because I think all of them have something unique. And that's another thing. All these tracks are very distinct. No one track really sounds like the other. And it's interesting how it still feels so cohesive while also being, very mixed all at the same time. It's really refreshing to see that someone has such vision like that, to be able to put what would be more like a playlist and kind of crush it into an album form. It's so interesting, and there's so many unique things going on here. I really can't stress enough how much I think most people should try this, even though I don't think it's going to be for most people. I think there's a couple songs on here that most people are going to like, or at least find something they like about it. For example, Godstained is definitely one of those tracks. I think Monday might be one that some people are going to mess with. It really depends on what genres you like. Dancing Without Moving is definitely his most fun song on here. I think most people can listen to it and really enjoy it, and that's why it is definitely a great song as well, that I think most people are going to be able to digest pretty easily. sometimes the album can get really in your face. And for some people, it might be a little overwhelming. But I think for me, it's just the right amount. Like, I think everything is done so tastefully on this record that it's trying so many ideas and they pay off really, really, really well. Do I think this album has any issues? I think maybe a little bit. I'm not sure I could really put my finger on what it is. It's kind of hard to, because I'm growing to love it more and more as I keep listening, especially since I've had, I would say, about 4 days listening to this record, close to nonstop. I mean, I've been bumping some of the new stuff that came out on Friday as well. Alfredo 2 was one of those records. But I mean, this is just, it's so encapsulating with everything that it does. And everything feels meaningful and like it has a purpose and a place on the album. So I don't think there's anything I would even change about this. I think maybe the Harry Wilkinson features throughout the track list are a little unnecessary, but they more than likely play into the bigger picture throughout the record. I think I'm going to give this album a 10 out of 10. Now, do I think this is going to be a 10 out of 10 for everyone? No, and I don't expect it to. If you're really into like art pop, indie folk, folktronica, post-punk, experimental hip-hop, electronic music, if you're really, really into all those genres, you'll love this album. Like, this is a perfect fusion of everything. And the songwriting doesn't disappoint. I mean, the vocal delivery, maybe in a few instances, are a little questionable, but for the most part are really good. I think he's a talented vocalist who has a unique voice that kind of sets himself apart. And I mean, coming fresh off of working with Kevin Abstract on Blush, which was a fine record, but I think the biggest contributions definitely came from Quadeca and Dominic Fike. So I kind of wished Dominic Fike were on this record. I think he definitely could have fit on something like Dancing Without Moving. I mean, this album just does so many things right and so very few things wrong for me. And I think it really comes down to personal preference for most people. If you know a bit about music, I think you'll be able to recognize that things are really done with a lot of precision and care and thought put into it. And you can kind of appreciate what is at least being done here. It's sort of paving this new sound for him in his career. And I'm really excited to see the next direction he takes. So with just the finished album, I think this was incredible. And I think you should give it a try if you're even just a little bit curious about it. Definitely watch the album movie that goes with it, because it just adds so much more to the record. Even just on its own, it stands really, really, really well. So I am going to give this a 10 out of 10. This is my current album of the year. Don't know if anything else is going to top it. I think Maruja might have something close, but this probably takes the cake for me. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the vinyl exclusives. So the vinyls, there were 3 different variations, all of which had exclusive bonus tracks. So I, of course, bought all 3 of them to listen to these bonus tracks. And some of them were a few demo tracks that he had posted snippets of on his X8 Music Instagram, which is his newly formed record label. The Foregone demo was gorgeous, and I really wish it was on the album, but I understand why it wasn't, probably for pacing issues. I mean, even the bonus tracks feel cohesive in a sense. I can see where some of these would slot onto the album, and they don't feel super unfinished or anything. I think he definitely cleaned things up for the vinyls. They just sound of the same quality. They're songs that I could genuinely listen to. And they don't just feel like throwaways. Almost like a scrapyard kind of thing, where even though this is just the leftovers from stuff, things have still been cleaned up. Things have still been changed a little bit altered to include his new skill set. And I think he did a fantastic job with those as well. So yeah, I think this is my album of the year. Let me know what you thought about this. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Have you tried it? If you do try it, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and link both the bonus tracks as well as the album movie and the Spotify link all in the description below, as well as my other social medias. Go ahead and check those out. We got a couple announcements for our next reviews. We're going to do Alfredo 2, which will likely release this Friday. So early announcement. We'll have to see where things get done there. This Friday, which I believe is August 1st, so first of the month. And I think on Sunday, we're also going to do a Jack Boys 2 review. Even though it's kind of late, we're going to be doing a vinyl giveaway with that as well. It's a completely sealed Jack Boys 2 vinyl pre-order. So if you are looking to buff up your collection a little bit, or maybe you just really like the record, I'll be giving that away on my Instagram page. I will give more details about that when the review is out. Thank you so much if you made it to the end. Let me know what you thought about my review. Did you think my points were valid? Do you think I'm crazy? Maybe I'm glazing a little bit. Who knows? If you made it to the end, I really do appreciate you dedicating your time to viewing this. It means a lot to me because of the amount of work that I put into this and how passionate I am, not only about music, but just talking about music. Thank you so much for your support. If you liked the video, go ahead and drop a like. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing and maybe turning on your post notifications. With that being said, I hope you all have an amazing day. Stay tuned for the next episode, and stay blessed.